All right, let me know when to count down. Oh, there we go. Ooh, excuse me. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go, baby. All right, and we are live. Welcome, everybody. We are at episode number 34 of the Almost Awesome Pod. Last week, Matt covered for me since I was out of town doing our February in review. So tonight's my turn. Tonight's my turn to run it solo. So again, thanks Matt for covering for me. I think right now he's actually on a vacation too. So this all kind of worked out perfectly. So unfortunately, since it's the end, well, I guess it's technically the start of a new month. As of right now, we don't have a monthly question. I'll get into the story about all this February nonsense. But as of right now, we don't have a monthly question set. So if any of you listeners out there have some interesting questions you'd like to hear, like as a monthly themed question, let us know. Let us know in the chat. Comment down below. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can do anything like that. Uh-oh. I think my Discord may have been frozen. I think. Because on my end, I'm looking like a goof, but I still hear me pretty well. But we're trying out some new stuff. We got Cody running the boards tonight. So shout outs to Cody for coming in clutch. I think everything's good now. So we're gonna be playing and messing around with some settings and trying some new things to see how this all works out. Basically to maximize you guys' experience and making sure that me and Matt can stay 100% focused on the conversations that we're having. But no monthly question. The last month's question was, what sort of advice or what would you tell yourself like 5 years ago with the knowledge that you have now? Our past guests going from the beginning of the month, we had Jackie Chan, we had Shiyu, we had Anton, and then we had Janet / mom. And it was cool to see everyone's different answers. I guess technically with my mom, like she almost couldn't answer, which is kind of cool to see, right? Where I think as a young adult, there are a lot of things that we see as like, I don't want to generalize it and throw everybody under the bus, but I guess for me specifically, like I feel like right now in my life, I feel that there's a lot of things that I regret, or a lot of things that I wish I had better knowledge of how to handle certain situations, or more experience, so I wouldn't be, in that precarious situation that caused me such turmoil. And it was interesting to see like how my mom struggled with that question, where it goes to show that like eventually all your experiences, be them good, be them positive, or them be like bad, hopefully not traumatizing, but like whether the experience is good or bad, it ends up shaping the character of who you are in the present moment. And it's like even like if you think about like all your bad experiences that you've gone through so far in life, like those experiences probably shaped you more than some of the positive ones. And without those, trials and tribulations, you may not be the same person you are today. So it's cool to see that. Um, it's interesting. It's interesting to see um, like other people's thoughts and ideas as to like um, what they would say and how they would answer that question. Because everybody's life is different. Like not everyone is at the same point in their life as like me, right? Not everyone has the same shared experiences. And if someone does, then let's team up because I could use a dual partner. I could use some help on this journey. Um, but it was very cool to see, um, just like everyone's choices of like uh, what they would tell themselves 5 years ago. Um, and also, it was a cool experience just thinking back onto like where you were 5 years ago, and it seems like it's like a short amount of time, right? It's just 5 years. You can count them. You can count it on your hands. Um, but even thinking back like 5 years ago, and like how much for me personally I've changed. It was shocking to be honest. Like, um, what was happening? I think that was a year. I think I mentioned it before. That was a year that me, Matt, and Kevin Lim hosted Sayao, which was like our Filipino Student Association's like big cultural show. Um, so like it was kind of it was weird to think like how long ago that was, even though it's only 5 years. Like it seems like it was such a long time ago, but just the length of time isn't really that long. Like compared to like what 10 years ago. Um, it's just kind of nutty. Um, oh, I guess. Well, no, sorry, things are kind of messy. I apologize. This month has been like a huge mess for me. I was trying to think of like how we order the show after missing last week. Uh, I feel like I've forgotten everything about the podcast. Not having Matt here has just thrown me for a loss. Again, I do have Cody here, but he's there working behind the scenes. Um, but where is I going with this? Mm, theme. Uh, Dress code theme for tonight. I feel like it would only be appropriate for me to wear a tank. Uh, because nowadays everybody knows me as Muscular Mark. I'm kidding. Nobody actually calls me that. But um, like I just gym all the time. It's just comfortable wear that I can comfortably flex in. Just feels good. Sun's out, guns out. Um, and I think that's an important thing, right? Like just finding your comfort zone, finding out where you're comfortable. Um, I guess like finding out where your home is. Because it's always a weird experience to throw yourself into an uncomfortable situation and like sit there, sit there for it, right? I mean, that's what makes it uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to find ways to get comfortable in that. Like eventually, you have to find a place that you can call home. Um, and like, I know it happened to me a couple times where, um, like I had to think about it. I was like, I don't know where like my safe haven is, my home, my place I can retreat to, my comfort zone, my uh, like even like my bed, like where people find like they can just jump in their bed, throw their covers up, and feel like safe and secure and away from the world. Um, but I know for me now, like it used to be my safe place. Like my room was my safe place where I could be me. I could let down like my guard and you know be 100% like honest and truthful. But nowadays I'm actually like terrified to uh kind of stay in my den, stay at home, stay in my room for too long. Um, so now I have to go out and find a new home, a new place to find comfort. And that's where the gym came in. Gym is my new comfort place. I hate it. It's painful, but it is serene. So that covers the topic of the day, tank top. So thanks everybody for tuning in, wearing your tank top. Uh, but on to the main point of the podcast today, which is the February review. So our first guest was Jackie Chan, a good friend from college. I know. I guess to preface this, I'm assuming and I'm hoping that everybody listening to this podcast listened to the last one and got a little bit of Matt's February review. But if you didn't, maybe I can give a different twist on it. I'll give my thoughts on it just in case. But first guest, that was episode 29, I believe. Yes, it's episode 29. We had Jackie Chan on the podcast. And both me and Matt found it really interesting where we were friends in college. We met through the Filipino Student Association, or it was where was it? I think it was a Korean Student Association, like kind of like game night or something. I want to say that's what it was. Anyways, one of the cultural organizations that we were kind of involved in, and we met him from there. And I would say honestly, like I knew him as a friend, but he was never like within that inner circle. For me, he was never in my inner circle of friends. Very exclusive group. So if you're part of that, consider yourself very lucky. But it was cool to like kind of like sit down and talk to him just about, like, I feel like it's fun to talk to anybody kind of about their thoughts on life. And it's more interesting to see how you can talk to, like, even if I have to put it this way, you can talk to like an acquaintance, someone you don't really know that well, and it's eye opening just to hear like his experience of like becoming a U.S. citizen, which is something that, like, you know, me being born here, I'm never gonna have to go through all the stuff Jackie had to, whether that's like all the tests, the paperwork, the studying, the interview process, and all that stuff. And it was cool to see, like, it was cool for him to like share that experience and kind of like bring it out there. Whereas, like, I think most of us who were born here in the U.S., like, we hear stories of it, but I guess like sometimes like you never know like how much of it is actually like true or how much is just a fabricated story. Um, so that was super cool to like just hear an experience with him. Um, After that was Shiyu, so that would be episode 30. This is when, so to give some backstory, this is where things kind of got like a mess. I know for me, behind the scenes, giving you a behind the scenes look of the Almost Awesome podcast. So I had a guest lined up from like a couple weeks back, and week of the podcast, I hit them up and I was like, "So you still good to go?" And no response. And stupidly, I waited till like last minute, like Friday, Saturday. I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to find a new guest because they didn't respond. And I was just like desperately searching. I'm like, dang it, I don't know who to get. I got to find somebody. And luckily, I had reconnected with Shiyu again, another friend from college that we met through like the cultural organizations and stuff. And I know Matt mentioned that Shiyu was we had like a big little program, almost like a mentoree program in the Filipino Student Association. Whereas like it was less professional, I would say. Like you could still talk to like your your older siblings um, about like professional advice and stuff like that. That I mean, it's always on the table. But it's more of just like building bonds, of, like friendship and stuff. Um, but Shiyu was Matt's little, and I know I had recently reconnected with Shiyu. We were talking about stuff, just life stuff, um, and I know both of us have been kind of going through like our own sort of trials and tribulations. That's life. Um, but luckily, like he came on super last minute, super nervous, super scared. Um, but the conversation went like really, really well, I would say. And even after like talking more, uh, with you, it's kind of eye opening, I would say. It's kind of weird to say, um, but from knowing Shiyu back in college, at least from what I know, he seemed like the very kind of like reserved type, not really much to like talk, I would say. We'd kind of like, casual chit chat every now and then. Um, but talking to him now, like it's very cool. It's like he's a lot deeper than I would have um imagined, I would say. Um, so I know for that one we kind of talked about um like self-care, which is something that's been like it's been super important to me lately, and it just so happened to be very relevant to stuff that she's been going through. I don't want to disclose any of that stuff. That's his business. Um, but um, yeah, it's just focusing on like self care and reminding yourself that you got to give yourself a little bit of um, TLC. Some tender love and care. You got to remember that uh, you gotta really learn to love yourself. And if it's something that you don't like about yourself, um, if there's something that you don't like about yourself, then try to change it. Try to become better. Um, you're not. Hopefully, you're not stuck that way. Like me, I don't like being short. I could get constructive surgery to extend my legs and my limbs, but I definitely won't go through that. I could. I could replace this body with a robot one. Soon to be, in the works with my hopefully robotics degree. But um, there's still like I guess even for me, like I realize like there's a lot of things that um I need to work on as a person, like personality traits, personality flaws and stuff. And um I feel like with everything else that we kind of talk and touch on the podcast, um life is just an ongoing series of trials and tribulations and seeing like, you know, can you overcome this next wall? Uh, and every time you climb over that wall, and there's another mountain ahead of you that you gotta get over. Um, so it's an ongoing journey, and sometimes it's tough. Sometimes we gotta take those breaks, those breathers, but don't feel bad for taking those breathers because that's also a part of self care. We gotta always strive to improve, I believe. But you also shouldn't feel bad for taking time to rest, taking time to relax, recover, recuperate. Um, you can't expect to be living a long life running at 150% efficiency. You're gonna run out of gas real quick with no brakes. You gotta fuel up. You gotta find that time to just, you know, chill, relax, sit down, breathe in, enjoy like the fact that you're living, that you're breathing. um so what else after that? Episode 31. Yes, I was like, I'm counting correct. Episode 31 was with Anton Perez. um that one was interesting too because I know Matt touched on it on his review, where we had previously talked about having him on the podcast, and I know me personally, I was worried about having him on the podcast, where um, I feel like there are times where it's hard to get him um, to talk. I would say sometimes you have to kind of find the right way to word things for him to like really dive into like a topic or something to talk about. Um, because I feel like the way that he talks, like he's there have been some times like where we get into like deep talks and stuff, but he's very like very spot on and direct. Where it's almost like there's no real need for a follow up, or to like continue like pressing on to that point. Um, so I was worried that that was going to happen like a lot, where we'd have like uh, something that we considered as thought provoking, and he would just answer it real quick, and then we'd be like, "Okay, I guess we're going next." Um, but we ended up talking a lot about like motivation. I think motivation was one of the key things that we talked about, and just um, finding it like finding the right way to be motivated about like things you want to achieve, goals that you want to accomplish in life. Um, and for like him personally, like having the shared goal of reaching like the high ranks in Rocket League. And since Rocket League is a team game, making sure everyone's um, on the same page. They all have the same goal, right? The same, um, I would say, energy that they want to devote towards that goal. And even if like someone wavers, other people on the team can help boost them up and kind of get them excited, even if they may be on a lose streak. You have that team of support that everyone's still trying to reach the same goal. It's like, hey, don't worry, we got this. We can still continue. Um, but just, I think we've talked about it a lot on this podcast of just learning to kind of keep yourself motivated by uh, reevaluating your goals, right? Where um, you may set up a goal like 1 month, not achieve it the next, but maybe you still want to achieve that goal. I know for me, like I've been trying to do a system where I keep track of um, like negative thoughts that I want to kind of like stop thinking about. Um, like for example, to keep it simple, it's like I feel useless, just for the sake of example, um, and just like trying to figure out how do I break out of the cycle of thinking that I'm useless. Maybe the goals I set were too high, I didn't achieve them, and I still feel this way. Um, but I still want to make sure I don't feel useless anymore. So you just got to reevaluate those goals and always just working towards something that you truly believe in, something that you really want to achieve. And it's amazing what you can achieve based on like how driven you are for it. And sometimes you just got to find like the right drive, whether that's you know having a support team behind you and people rooting for you on the sides, or um, even for me, just like personal development, personal growth, um, that'll help. Just it'll help future me. I'll struggle now, but future me is going to be like, dang, thank goodness I put in that work. Um, so just always trying to um, find ways to keep yourself motivated, because that'll help you just keep moving along, keep doing what you got to do. Um, and for episode 32, did I skip? No, 31 was Anton. 32 was Jeanette, my mom. Um, oh man, that one was even thinking about it. I feel like I feel my heart tug a bit. Um, just thinking about it, and it was. I feel like I say this every time. It was a super cool experience. It was something that I definitely I definitely didn't think would happen. I know it was in talks for a while to try to get my mom on the podcast. It'd been brought up by friends a couple times, be like, "Oh, it'd be so cool to see like your mom on the podcast." Um, and I was kind of scared asking her initially, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, she'll probably say no. She'll probably be like, oh, this is weird, and make it like a big hassle, and oh, I got to figure out how to get this on my iPad." And I was just like, I'll shoot it out her, and we'll see what happens." Um, and it was cool to see. It was cool to like, I guess, get it out there. That um she wanted to have like more talks with us, or like get to know like she wished if she regrets. I would say not really regrets. If there's one thing she could tell her past self, it was to spend more time with her kids. And like I kind of touched on it a little bit in that podcast where it was like, well, it's not too late. I mean, we're all still here. We all can still talk, and you know, uh, ways of communication are super simple nowadays. Um, and I know Matt and also my mom brought it up where we just gotta make time for it. My mom used the analogy of, she feels like she has to make an appointment to get in contact with Matt. Um, but I think it was important to kind of get the idea out there, right? Where um, we do want to spend quality time. We do want to have like talks with each other, and just like get to know like what's going on. Really build that relationship. As strange it may sound, like it's like the parent child relationship. Um, and I know Matt mentioned it before too, and I'm in total agreement that um like w- the way our parents raised us, I mean, I feel like we came out pretty freaking good. So, props to them for that. Um, so I'm definitely like super grateful for that. But like I mentioned too, like it's not too late for us to, you know, um, just like start talking, start bonding. Now that we kind of have time. I mean, we're all busy with our own little things, but we can always make time to talk and reconnect. And um, it was cool to do that, and I hope that like um, that kind of resonates with you guys out there, trying to connect with like your parents or build a relationship with them. Um, hopefully, I'm hoping that you guys have decent relationships with your parents, um, and that is a possibility. Um, but yeah, um, that was kind of it for the podcast stuff. I know I alluded it a bit um, to try to give like some backstory on like February. I know for me, oh man, this year this year has been a ride. I'll say it's been a pretty nutty wild ride. Um, for those of you who may know the story and the details, you understand why. But I know like February ended up being like a pretty big turning point for things uh, for me. I would say it was like a real pretty bad breaking point for me. And things just kind of like things were like a huge mess. It was nice having that hiatus between the new year and like starting the podcast up again. And then like I was ready and raring to go. I was like, oh man, I can't wait. Um can't wait to uh get the show started again, get the wheels turning, get the conversations going, get things spicy and deep. And then, whew, man, shit took a turn. And honestly, like it's been bugging me a lot, I would say. I feel like um I haven't been in like the right mental space, I would say, for this. And I know I it happens a lot where I'm just like I'm constantly apologizing for like the mess of things and just like not being fully prepared, and it feels like it's happening like week after week after week, and I just can't like catch up. Um, but I'm trying my best, and I hope that you guys are still enjoying coming along for this ride. But we're definitely gonna try to clean things up. I'm gonna try. I don't want to throw Matt under the bus, but I know for sure I'm gonna try to uh, clean this stuff up, get in the right mental mind space, use some of that self care, get that motivation started, um, and get us back on track on the right foot. Um, I know even having like the break off last week was kind of relieving, I would say. Um, but at the same time, I was still like super stressed. I was like, man, I hope it all goes well. I hope things don't go wrong. I hope you know Matt's got it all under control because he hasn't messaged me about anything. Um, but I would say things went fairly well. So I'm super glad for that. Um, but it's now a new month. Uh, it's time to get things started on the right foot. Hopefully. I know I mentioned it before that I had been working on um, kind of a list of things that I want to work on. Just like um, more more personal development, I would say. I guess like it would be, if I'm being honest, it's more like emotional development than like physical. I mean, been gymming all the time, but I've also been neglecting like my mental health, I would say. And I know like hmm, it's something that I've been needing to work on, but I think it's it's terrifying to kind of uh like face those sort of problems, especially when you don't know how to deal with them. Which is what I've been struggling with, where it's just uh just like writing down like my thoughts and stuff like that is something brand new. Like I don't consider myself like a good writer, I would say, or like I don't consider myself like as someone who would enjoy writing, but based on everything that's been happening so far and like just like hearing stuff, I was just like, oh, you should try it out. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's start writing stuff down, and it's been helpful. Unfortunately, again, February was like a huge like it was a huge crash for me, I would say. So I'm trying to pick up the pieces now for March. Um, and speaking of which, I know. Um, so this month I'm trying to be. Uh, this is my sober October, I would say. Sober March. Technically, it started after my vacation in Gatlinburg. I went off with a huge hurrah. Uh, drinking every night. But now it's time to sober up, and yeah, it's 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 funny. It's been kind of like eye opening where um like I've always wanted to like just see like, oh, can I like go without drinking for an entire month? It seems super easy, right? Um but I always kind of wavered. There was always like a party I went to, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, everyone's having a good time. We'll just have a couple beers. Um but this month I was just like, you know what? Let's do it. Um I guess like there are a couple things that kind of spurred it on where um like came to the realization that uh I realized like I have like a reliance on it. It's nice to it's nice like when you're feeling down to like chill out with like a beer, you know, have a couple drinks and just chill. Um but it was also brought to my attention, and I appreciate a lot that a couple of my friends were actually worried about my drinking habits, and I was like, is it that bad? Is it that bad? But I was like, you know what? Even if I feel like it isn't, I was like, you know what? let's do it. Let's do it just to prove it. But it's definitely been kind of eye opening where like it's only been like a week in March, and there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could just grab like a nice cool beer just to chill out. Um, but I think for sure it's definitely eye opening where um I guess like I'm used to running away from like problems, right? Or it just seems so easy to like distract yourself and not have to deal with them. Um, but now that I don't have like that go to like chill, relax with a beer and kind of forget about it, like I have to deal with it. It sucks. It sucks. But at some point you gotta deal with those problems because they're just if you don't deal with them now, they're gonna come back later. It's just like sweeping stuff under the rug, right? Just because you swept it under the rug doesn't mean it's gone forever. It could come back. Um, but we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. I definitely have felt like the itch where I'm like, man, I could go out drinking. Um, but I've been doing pretty good. Um, luckily there hasn't been any like big like parties or like get-togethers, so the temptation hasn't been super high. Um, but I think I can be pretty resilient about it. Like even just like thinking about like trying to cut and like dieting again. Um, where I feel like trying to stick to like a diet is harder than uh cutting out alcohol. Where it's funny because I was talking with my mom about it where I feel like a diet is more of just like a mental game than it is like really physically. I mean, obviously there's a physical portion to it too, making sure you eat a balanced meal, eat healthier foods, you're not eating junk food. But I feel like it's a huge just mental battle of being like, I don't need to eat this much. I don't need to eat this junk. I don't need to have soda all the time. And just having like the willpower. It's amazing the things that your mind can do. Um, but but I digress. We gotta focus. We gotta focus on the podcast, the review. Um, but let's see. What can we do for March? We gotta think of a new monthly question. I know it's been funny. I know um recently a lot of my sort of discussion topics have been based off of things kind of going on in my life, things that I kind of want to talk about. So sorry for being selfish that way. But if it produces good content for you guys, then awesome. If it works, then I won't change it. Um, but we do need to think of a new monthly question. I do also want to try to think about um, other ways to help you guys get involved in the show. I know I'm still working on like Twitter posts and stuff like that, and again, I'm slacking. Uh, the Instagram stuff, I'm also slacking on it. I know one of my friends sent me some cool ideas on like how to make some interesting Instagram posts. I just gotta kind of, I gotta do work. I gotta do work. Um, I feel like that's a hard thing. Like it's not like I don't enjoy the show. It's not like I don't enjoy like putting time and effort into making this like a thing. It's just unfortunate that like there's just so much. I feel like there's so much other stuff like going on. It's like all my life troubles. Again, if you know the stories, then you know what's going on. Even just like school and stuff. I'm starting to like build up stress with school and just like oh my god, why did I go back? Um, but there's a lot of stuff that we got to work on. Um, but I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind. Like even just in general, like um, you know, like life, right? Um, trying to get yourself back on track, even if you're lost, right? Um, I guess for me personally, um, like I said, like February is like a month that like just I slammed to hit a wall, dropped all my stuff. Um, so now March is how do we pick up the pieces? What do we start with? Do we start with the big heavy stuff? Do we grab all the small things, put them in a small bag, and then put it to the side? Um, so just kind of like trying to reorganize the goals. Um, but it'll be interesting to see how things work out. My um I haven't made my new list of things to improve for March. I know for February I definitely slacked off. Again, once I hit the wall, boom, man, shit, shit hit the fan. Um, and right now we still recovering. We're figuring out how to recover, and I think that's a good thing, right? Um, like it'd be I guess I'm in that weird in between where it's like, do I do I hurry up, make moves, pick up my pieces so I can continue moving, or do I just chill out, you know? Uh Sit down, give myself time to rest, recover before we get back on the grind. We get back working. We start from, you know, level 0 all over again. Um and it's maybe it's just like the pressure of society and me being older where it's like, man, I gotta get my life together. I'm 30 right now and it's like, man, what are you doing? um but i think I think I also have to keep in mind that everybody's life's different, right? um sometimes you just can't ever find your footing, like where I'm at right now. um and if you can't find your footing, like, you're bound to slip and fall, but you just got to keep picking yourself up. I think that's the big thing. You can lie in the mud, you can play around in it a bit, but at some point you gotta clean up. You gotta take that shower. You gotta take a shower, stinky. Clean up your act and get moving on the road and acting like uh, a fully grown adult. Um, but we'll get there. We'll get there slowly but surely. Um, so hopefully you guys will enjoy this personal growth. Hopefully it starts showing in future podcasts that I can keep uh, finding relevant life topics to talk about. Um, but it feels good. It feels good to uh, like like get back into the habit of talking. And I guess in that sense, I know we talked about it a bit before, where me and Matt kind of talked about, excuse me, do we feel like the podcast has helped our conversational techniques? Has it helped us? Like, do we feel like we are better at uh, having conversations, holding conversations? It was funny. Uh, Recently, I had lunch with one of my friends, and um, like I kind of got quiet, right? Um, where there's like a weird mix of like I have things I would like to talk about, but this is definitely not the place or the time to talk about these things. Um, but I know for me too, like it was a friend that like I don't usually hang out with a lot, I would say. Um, so I even brought it up. I'm like, oh, sorry, like I it like I enjoy kind of just like hanging out, like being around. Um, but I definitely still see like that that shy part of me come out. Where I guess I see the podcast as more of um, like a scripted, I would say, scripted conversation where like I have prep time to think about the topics we're gonna talk about, what I'm gonna say. Um, and it doesn't always seem like I know or have a plan as to what I'm gonna say. Um, but I definitely see myself still kind of stumbling in like a real life, an alive conversation setting. Um, But again, just like everything else, uh, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and I'm hoping that, um, you know, these podcasts in general are kind of sparking conversations that you'd want to have, or even if you're just listening, if the things that we talk about kind of get you thinking about like those topics, like thinking about how do you make time to give yourself some self care? What do you do for your self care? Do you meditate? Do you write your thoughts down? Do you go out and just take a walk? Um, what drives you? How do you keep yourself motivated? I think that's something that resonates with me a lot. Where there are a lot of times where I question. I'm like, what am I doing, and why am I doing it? Um, and it's scary when you don't have an answer to those questions. Um, it's scary when you don't have an answer to those questions right away. Um, but I think it's a game changer when you do question it and you do figure out you either reaffirm your beliefs, your motivations, or like I said before, maybe you just gotta um, change up your goals a bit, change up the ways you're doing it, the methodology um, to how you want to achieve those goals. Um, but yeah, um, hmm. I don't remember where I'm going with this. I tend to do this a lot. I know it was funny because this was brought up to me where I tend to circle around a lot of things. I was hoping that sobering up would stop this, would stop my madness, my circular thinking. But it's still kind of there. But I think it works. It works in some sense. Um, Talking about having better conversations and just having that time to self reflect and asking those tough questions. I feel like it's it's nice to like kind of reflect and think about, you know, these questions about life. Um, and I hope that um, it's cool to hear other people's thoughts on those life questions. Like I said, what do you do for self care? How do you keep yourself motivated? Um, may get you thinking of like trying something new to get yourself motivated about an old goal, trying to find newer ways to you know enjoy that rest, relaxations, that break from this chaotic life. um so I hope we can keep that going as best as we can. um what else? Recap. We're gonna do recap in 10 minutes. Okay, so let's start over from the beginning. No. Since we're live and you're on YouTube, you can scroll back to the beginning. You can watch the recap. Um, Nah, don't worry about it, Neil. It's all good. You're late, but I appreciate you stopping by and coming through. Uh, but what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Because this has been hmm. Because now I'm stuck. Now I'm stuck because I feel like I've gone through. I think I've gone through everything I wanted to go through, right? So we reflected a bit on the monthly question. Uh, we don't have a new monthly question, so we could use that. We can use that as with this last 10 minutes. Um, we did a recap of February. Uh, I did a personal recap of February. Little bit of uh, my plans for March. A little bit of kind of the podcast plans for March. Again, most of the podcast plans is getting my act together, getting things cleaned up, getting things back on track, getting the wheels turning in the right direction. Um, Hmm. But I think that's about it. Now I got to think of like what would be a good monthly question for this month of March. Do I have something along the lines of hmm I was saying like maybe something along of like resting and recovery, self-care, get those smaller specific objectives identified and knock them out. Yeah, that's true. I gotta fill up that spreadsheet, man. I gotta fill out that list and figure out all the small tasks and just keep break down the big goals in the small steps. I know that's what one of my friends does. She basically has like on her desk just a wall of like sticky notes of just like small tasks that she's trying to like accomplish for work. And when it's done, you just rip it off, you throw it away, you just go next. Sleep. March 2020 sleep goals. Yeah, I gotta definitely sleep better. It's tough. Sleepless nights, the wandering mind. It's terrible. And being sober doesn't help. Being sober does not help. Uh, I have been having a lot of dreams lately, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool, but then they're not they're not good dreams. They're not dreams that you wake up, you're like, dang, I'm hyped up, I'm ready to go. Ba, 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 ba. But um, yeah, it is cool. It is cool to uh almost just see your mind paint the picture instead of just slapping words around. At least that's how it is for me. I just have like a tornado of thoughts and just words, and they're just there. And then when I sleep, that tornado just hits that painting canvas of the dream world and makes some wild shit. That's all I gotta say. Make some real wild shit. Um, what else? Oh, I guess well, maybe you'll see it. Maybe you'll see it next time. I gotta work on some podcast graphics. I would say within the next. It should be within the next podcast. I'll have some updated graphics for our new setup, our starter, our closer. Um, I know. I know this week, since Matt's not here, we don't have access to his timer technology, but I believe we do have a backup in place. Um, you just strap in tight. It'll be exciting to see. New intro song? Um, possibly. Oh, there it is. You can see it. Is it this way? This way? I think. I think it's this way. Yeah. But you'll see it when the time comes. Um, New intro song, not yet. But if anyone is interested in making like an intro, outro riff, that would be that'd be cool. It'd be cool and greatly appreciated. Um, but let's see. How do we spend these last 5 minutes well? How do we get to this? Um, we could just close, right? We just close up shop a little bit early. This isn't too bad of idea. I've been stumbling. I've been like, man, I gotta cover the full hour. I don't want to get. I mean, I guess I could have. Right? Like it's my podcast. I'm the guest today, so I can talk about me. But I didn't want to divulge too much into it. Maybe another time. Maybe in the secret Patreon, the Patreon Pantsless podcast. We'll talk about it there. Um, but I guess in closing, don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube, so you always get notified whenever we go live. Click that bell button, so you get that notification when a new video gets posted. Um, I'll put our social media links in the description of the video, so you can follow us there. Again, trying to work harder on making better Twitter posts, twittering more often, posting more on our Instagram, getting that going. I know there are a lot of people who are responding to like the Instagram stories, which is really nice. Just to like see like you guys' your thoughts and ideas on like topics and questions that we'd like to talk about. So again, greatly appreciate it. And we're gonna try to amp that up and make it more accessible and more appealing for you guys, so we can hold a conversation with you guys. But yeah, I think that's about it. Again, having that week off threw me off. I wasn't prepared. I pretty much prepared like today. But in classic fashion, we give it to the guest to close us out and send us home. We give them a minute to give us a TLDR, and in conclusion of the podcast, their thoughts and everything, any last words they want to say. So again, unfortunately, there is no guest. You're stuck with me, so I'll be doing the closer this time. Again, thank you guys for always tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Shout outs to Matt for holding down the fort last week. I really appreciate it. If you haven't checked it out, yet, subscribe to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out the last episode, episode 33, the February in review. And I'm only piggybacking off of that first one. So check that one out. Then you can watch this one. And you'll learn to appreciate Matt being here on the show instead of just me. But without further ado, I think we're about ready to go with this closer. We're about at that time. So Cody, whenever you're ready, I believe I'm good to go. I'm nervous already. Okay, here we go. So February has been a month. That is a fact. That is not a lie. We had a lot of interesting and fun guests to talk to. We had Jackie, we had Shuyu, we had Anton, we had my mom. All very interesting topics to talk about. Check out the episodes on our playlist. Jackie Chan's, Shuyu's, Anton's, my mom's, for whatever topics you're interested in. Even go back farther than February. Check out our early ones. Find the podcasts that work for you. Hopefully this upcoming month we find even better topics to talk about with even more interesting people. So again, I can't stress this out enough. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all your thoughts. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that bell button, and we'll see you all next week. Same place, same time. Bye!